The night was quiet in the small town, and the human was busy in his old cluttered workshop, surrounded by metal scraps, wires, and half-finished inventions. He wiped sweat from his forehead and listened to the soft hum of his machines, thinking it was just another lonely night. Suddenly, he heard a soft knocking at the door. Faint but urgent, he frowned and set down his tools, wondering who could be visiting at this late hour. Slowly, he opened the door, and what he saw made him freeze. There in the cold night stood a tiny creature no bigger than a small dog. She had large round eyes that shined in the dim light, soft gray fur covering her small body, and ears that twitched nervously. Her tail, bushy and striped like a squirrel's, curled tightly around her legs, and she shivered as she clutched a small tattered bag. Her voice was soft and trembling when she spoke. "Please, I need a place to stay. Just for one night." The human blinked, confused. I don't understand." "What are you?" he asked. She looked at him with pleading eyes and whispered, I am lost. I have nowhere to go. Please." He stared at her, feeling a strange tug at his heart, unsure whether to trust her. She was tiny, vulnerable, and clearly afraid, but there was something in her eyes that told him she was not dangerous. The wind blew through the street, and the little alien girl shivered more, pulling her tattered bag closer to her chest. She spoke again, her voice almost breaking. "If I don't find a place, I might disappear forever." The words made the human step back in shock, his mind racing. Disappear forever? What did she mean? Where had she come from? He looked around his small workshop, thinking of the tiny doghouse in the corner, dusty and old. It was not much, but it could keep her safe for the night, and something inside him whispered that he had to help her. "All right," he said slowly. "You can stay in the doghouse, but be careful, okay?" Her face lit up with relief, and she bowed her head slightly. Thank you," she whispered. He led her to the tiny doghouse and helped her inside, watching as she curled up, her ears twitching nervously. She seemed so fragile, yet there was a strange spark in her large eyes, a hint of something powerful hidden behind her small frame. The human returned to his workbench, but his mind kept drifting back to her. He wondered where she had come from, what kind of world she belonged to, and why she needed his help so badly. The night grew darker, and the wind howled outside, rattling the windows. Every little sound made her ears twitch, and the human could see her eyes shining in the dim light, filled with fear and hope at the same time. She whispered softly, almost to herself, "They are looking for me. I must hide. I must survive." The human froze, unsure who they were or what danger she was in. But something told him that she was telling the truth, that she was in real danger, and he felt a responsibility he had never felt before. He moved closer to the doghouse and whispered, "Don't worry, I will help you. I won't let anything happen to you." The tiny alien girl looked up at him, her eyes wide with gratitude and something else, a small smile of trust. Outside, the night continued to hum with quiet mystery, the stars glinting faintly above the workshop roof. Inside, the human sat and watched her for hours, wondering about the secrets she carried, the world she came from, and the danger that might come for her. He had no idea that this night was just the beginning of an adventure, one that would test his courage, challenge everything he knew about the universe, and change his life forever. And somewhere in the shadows, the first hints of approaching danger began to stir, waiting for the right moment to strike. The tiny alien girl, curled in the doghouse, closed her eyes and whispered one last thing before sleep took her. "Please, don't let them find me." And the human knew that he had to protect her no matter what. The morning sunlight peeked through the dusty windows of the workshop, casting long shadows across the workbenches. The human stirred from his chair, stretching and rubbing his eyes, but his thoughts kept returning to the tiny alien girl curled up in the doghouse. She had barely slept, and when she finally emerged, her small furry ears twitched nervously, scanning the room. Her large round eyes glimmered with curiosity as she hopped lightly onto a low shelf, balancing easily despite her tiny frame. The human watched silently, amazed at how graceful she moved, her tail flicking behind her like a small flag. She sniffed at every tool, every small gadget, and even the screws scattered across the workbench, her tiny nose wriggling with interest. Then she picked up a shiny bolt and tilted her head. This can fix." "Yes," she said softly, her voice unsure but filled with determination. The human blinked, realizing she understood mechanics better than she let on. Though her words were broken, he smiled and said, You're clever. But careful, okay? She nodded quickly and continued inspecting the workshop. Hopping from table to shelf with delicate precision, there was something strange, almost magical, about the way she interacted with the objects, as if she could sense their purpose instinctively. Suddenly, a loud creak echoed from the corner of the workshop, and the alien girl froze. Ears twitching sharply, the human turned. Alarmed, "What is it?" She only shook her head, her eyes wide with fear, and whispered, "They..." Close. The word sent a chill down his spine, and he scanned the shadows outside, but nothing moved. He felt a strange mix of curiosity and dread. Who were they, and why were they searching for this small, helpless creature? She darted to a small drawer and pulled out a handful of tiny, shiny objects, hiding them in her bag. The human frowned. "Why are you hiding those?" She looked at him with pleading eyes. "Important. Must keep safe." "They take..." He didn't understand, but he sensed urgency, and decided not to ask further. Instead, he sat near her and watched quietly. Trying to gain her trust throughout the day, she explored every corner of the workshop, jumping over boxes and crawling through small spaces. She seemed fascinated by the strange machines, her small hands brushing lightly over gears and levers. The human noticed she paused often, listening carefully to sounds outside the windows or the faint hum of the street. It was clear she was alert, always cautious, as if danger could appear at any moment. Yet despite her fear, she began to mimic his movements, trying to help with small tasks, handing him screws and holding tools. He laughed softly. "You're learning fast. Faster than I expected." She tilted her head, blinking as if proud to be useful, and a small smile appeared on her furry face. It was the first time he felt a connection with her beyond simple empathy. She was not just a helpless creature, she was intelligent, clever, and had a spark of courage that he admired. As evening approached, strange noises began outside again, faint rustling and distant footsteps that made her ears twitch sharply. The human's heart raced, and he whispered, "Stay close. I'll protect you." She nodded silently, clutching her bag tightly and hiding behind a small shelf. The wind howled through the cracks in the workshop walls, carrying sounds that made them both tense. She whispered softly, "They want me, must not, caught." Her words were broken, but the fear in her voice was clear, and the human knew this was only the beginning. He glanced at her, her small body trembling, and felt a surge of determination. He would not let anything happen to her. Suddenly, a shadow moved outside, fast and deliberate, stopping near the window. The alien girl froze, tail curling tightly, and he realized the danger was closer than ever. The suspense hung in the air like a thick fog, the audience wondering what these mysterious "they" were, and whether the human could protect this unusual, brave little guest. As night fell, they sat together near a small lamp, sharing silence and careful glances. The alien girl whispered almost to herself, I am not weak. I can help. Must survive." The human nodded slowly, realizing that she was more than she seemed. And in that quiet moment, a bond began to form, a fragile trust between human and alien. They were alone in the workshop, but together, ready to face whatever danger lurked outside. Little did they know, the night would bring challenges neither of them had imagined, and the tiny squirrel-like alien girl would soon show courage that shocked even her human protector. Night fell over the small town, and the workshop grew quiet except for the soft hum of machines and the occasional creak of old wood. The human sat at his workbench trying to focus on fixing a broken gadget, but his eyes kept drifting to the tiny alien girl curled in the doghouse. She was shivering slightly, ears twitching, tail wrapping tightly around her legs, and he could see the fear in her wide, glimmering eyes. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed outside, followed by a rustling sound that made his heart pound. The alien girl leapt from the doghouse with surprising speed, landing lightly on the floor, her tail flicking like a whip. "Stay back," she whispered urgently, her voice trembling but firm. The human froze, gripping a wrench tightly, and peered toward the door, his mind racing with questions. What is it? Who's there?" he asked, but the girl only shook her head, her ears flattened against her head. They come for me." "Stay back," she said, her small hands clutching a tiny device from her bag. Before he could ask more, a shadow moved across the window, low and fast, and his pulse quickened. Two strange creatures with glowing eyes and sharp claws appeared outside, circling the workshop. The human's eyes widened in shock. What are those?" he whispered. The alien girl crouched low, tail flicking, and whispered softly, "Danger." Must protect. Must survive. Suddenly she leapt forward, holding her device tightly, and pressed a button. A bright flash of light shot from it, startling the creatures, who hissed and recoiled. The human watched in disbelief as the tiny alien girl's small body radiated a faint glow. Her eyes shining brighter than before, she moved with agility, dodging the creature's claws. Using clever movements to confuse them, the human realized she was not as helpless as she seemed, and a strange sense of awe filled him. You're amazing, he whispered, ducking behind a workbench for safety. The creatures growled, snapping their jaws, and lunged at the workshop door. The alien girl squeaked sharply and activated her device again, sending a blinding light toward the attackers, forcing them to back off. Together, they managed to hold the creatures at bay for several tense minutes, the workshop filled with flashes of light, sharp sounds, and the smell of ozone. Finally, the creatures retreated into the darkness, their glowing eyes disappearing into the night. The alien girl sank to the floor, breathing heavily, her small body trembling. The human rushed to her, placing a hand gently on her back. "Are you okay?" She looked up at him, eyes wide, and whispered, "I survived because you helped me." He shook his head, amazed. "No, you saved yourself. I just stayed." For a long moment, silence filled the workshop, broken only by the soft hum of machines and their heavy breathing. The human realized the tiny alien girl was more than just clever. She had courage, strength, and a will to survive that surprised him. He offered her some water and a small piece of bread, which she accepted shyly, nibbling carefully. Her tail twitched as she looked at him, and he saw a spark of trust forming between them. "You're safe for now," he whispered, "but we must be ready. They will come again." The alien girl nodded, clutching her small bag. "Yes, must hide, must survive." Together, the wind howled outside, rattling the windows, and he could sense that this was only the beginning. The night stretched on, filled with tension and uncertainty, as human and alien girl sat together, alert and ready for whatever would come next. And as the first light of dawn touched the workshop, the human realized that his life had changed forever. He was no longer alone in his quiet little workshop. He had a small, brave companion who needed him, and he knew, deep in his heart, that protecting her would be the most important mission of his life. Somewhere in the distance, hidden eyes watched them, waiting for the right moment to strike, but for now, the tiny alien girl had survived the night of danger, and the human could only hope that the bond they shared would be enough to face the trials ahead. The morning sun cast soft light across the workshop, but the human could feel the tension from the night still lingering. The tiny alien girl sat quietly in the corner, her ears twitching, her tail coiled tightly around her small body. He watched her carefully, amazed at how brave she had been during the attack, yet worried about what might come next. "Are you hurt?" he asked softly, kneeling near her. She shook her head, eyes wide and serious. "No, I'm okay. Must survive." Her voice was small but filled with determination, and he realized she was not just a helpless creature. She was clever and resourceful. He decided that they needed a plan, a way to protect the workshop and keep her safe. He walked over to his workbench, gathering tools and materials. "Maybe we can make the doghouse stronger. Add traps, alarms, lights," he muttered. She watched closely, tilting her head, and then squeaked softly, pointing at a small drawer. "This, useful." He opened the drawer and found a few old devices he had never used, strange gadgets with blinking lights and wires. "Okay, maybe this can work," he said, starting to assemble them around the doghouse. She jumped onto the workbench, helping him as best she could. Placing small objects and holding screws, it was strange, watching a tiny alien girl work alongside him, yet he felt a deep connection forming. She paused often, glancing at the door or windows, listening for any sound from outside. The human realized she had sharp senses, much better than his, and that she was alert to danger even when he was not. As they worked, she pulled a small device from her bag, shiny and strange, with faint glowing symbols. "What is that?" he asked, leaning closer. She held it carefully. "From my world, important. Keep safe, must protect," she said, her voice urgent. The human examined it, amazed at the technology. Unlike anything he had ever seen, it was small, but it hummed softly and seemed to respond to her touch, glowing brighter as she moved it. "Could this help us?" he whispered. She nodded, her tiny hands clutching it. "Yes. Maybe can protect." Together they modified the doghouse, adding the alien device, wiring lights and alarms to alert them of intruders. The human felt a mix of pride and awe. This tiny creature was teaching him, guiding him with knowledge he could not understand fully. The workshop felt alive, filled with strange lights, soft humming, and the quiet tension of anticipation. Suddenly she froze, ears twitching sharply, tail coiling tightly, and whispered, "They coming." The human's pulse quickened, and he quickly checked the doors and windows, making sure the alarms and lights were ready. "They, what? How do you know?" he asked. She looked at him with wide, serious eyes. "I can sense, must hide, must survive." The human nodded slowly, trusting her instincts. Though he could not understand them fully, they hid behind a large workbench, waiting silently, the hum of the workshop mixing with the tension in the air. Minutes felt like hours, shadows moving outside the windows, rustling leaves and soft footsteps. The alien girl squeezed his hand briefly, a silent signal that they were together in this. The suspense grew, the audience wondering what would happen next, what dangers lurked outside, and whether their preparations would be enough. As the first evening light touched the sky, a strange glow appeared in the small device she had brought. It pulsed softly, casting flickering shadows across the workshop. And he realized it was more than a simple gadget. It was a key, a secret tool from her world. What does it do?" he whispered. She only shook her head. "Protect, help, surprise. For them." The human felt a mix of fear and excitement. He had no idea what she was planning, but one thing was clear. This small alien girl was not just a guest. She was a partner, a guide, and perhaps a hero in her own right. The night stretched on, filled with preparation, quiet glances, and the silent promise that together they would face whatever danger came next. And somewhere in the shadows, eyes watched, waiting for the perfect moment to strike, unaware that the tiny squirrel-like alien girl and her human companion were ready. The workshop was quiet, but the tension in the air was thick. The human glanced at the tiny alien girl, who sat alert near the reinforced doghouse, her ears twitching, tail wrapped tightly. She held her small device close, glowing softly in the dim light, ready to warn them of any danger. The human's hand shook slightly as he tightened screws on the alarms he had set up. He had no idea who or what would come for her, only that she was not safe yet. Suddenly, a shadow passed across the window, long and deliberate. The alien girl's eyes widened and she whispered, "They, here." Before he could respond, the door rattled violently, and low growls filled the workshop. Two large figures appeared outside, glowing eyes peering through the cracks. Scanning for any sign of movement, the human froze, fear gripping him. But the alien girl leapt forward, small yet fearless. She pressed a button on her device and a bright light burst from it, momentarily blinding the intruders. Her small body moved like a flash, darting from shelf to workbench, evading the creature's claws. The human watched in awe as she used clever tricks, throwing tools, activating small gadgets and using the light to confuse them. He realized she was not helpless. She was quick, clever, and resourceful beyond imagination. The creatures hissed and lunged again, but the alien girl squeaked sharply, pushing a small lever that sent sparks across the floor. One of the intruders yelped and stumbled back, while the other tried to push forward. The human grabbed a heavy wrench and swung at a shadow, buying time. The alien girl's small eyes glimmered with determination, and she whispered, "Protect, must survive." Together, the human nodded, realizing this was no ordinary night. This was a test of courage and ingenuity. Together they fought silently but fiercely, their movements synchronized almost instinctively. She squeaked, pushed buttons, and jumped to safety while he blocked and distracted. The glowing device pulsed faster, sending out strange signals that made the intruders hesitate. It was clear that she had powers he could not understand fully, and he felt both awe and fear. The audience could feel the tension rising, the small alien girl and human facing danger far bigger than themselves. Finally, one of the creatures growled and retreated into the shadows, while the other staggered, disoriented by the flashes of light. The alien girl dropped to the floor, breathing heavily, her small body trembling. The human rushed to her, placing a hand gently on her back. "Are you okay?" She nodded slowly, eyes shining. "I survived because..." "Together?" He shook his head in amazement. "No. You saved yourself, but we survived together." For a long moment they sat quietly, catching their breath, the workshop filled with the hum of machines and their heavy breathing. Outside, the shadows moved again, but this time more slowly, almost cautiously, as if waiting for the right moment. The alien girl glanced at the human, tail twitching. They will come again. Stronger. The human nodded grimly. Then we must be ready. Stronger too, she squeaked softly, reaching for her device. Yes, prepare, must survive, must protect. As the night wore on, they worked quietly to reinforce the doghouse, test the devices, and set small traps around the workshop. The human marveled at her courage and intelligence, realizing that this tiny creature was teaching him how to be brave in ways he had never imagined. Her sharp senses, quick reflexes, and clever use of gadgets made him feel both pride and admiration. The bond between them grew stronger with each passing minute, a silent understanding forming that they could face the coming danger together. He whispered softly, "Whatever comes, we face it. Together." She looked up at him, ears twitching, eyes wide and trusting. Together, yes, must survive, must fight. And in that quiet workshop, lit by the dim glow of her device, human and alien girl prepared for the arrival of the next threat. The audience could feel the suspense. Who would arrive next? How would they fight? And would their cleverness and courage be enough? Somewhere outside, eyes watched, waiting, unaware that the smallest of beings in the workshop held the key to their defeat. The night had passed, but the danger did not end with the sunrise. The human and the tiny alien girl sat quietly in the workshop, listening for any sound outside. The shadows were still moving, faint rustling in the distance, reminding them that the attackers had not given up. The alien girl clutched her glowing device tightly, eyes wide and alert. She whispered softly, "They follow, must escape." The human nodded, his mind racing to find a way to get them both to safety. He thought about the small gadgets scattered around the workshop, the doghouse fortified with strange alien technology, and the secret paths around the building. "This way. We can leave." "Quietly," he said, pointing to a hidden side door he had never used. She hopped to his side, tail flicking nervously, and squeaked, "Yes, hurry, must survive." Together, they moved carefully, every step measured, hearts pounding with fear and anticipation. Outside, the morning air was cool, carrying the scent of damp grass and the faint hum of approaching danger. The human led the way, checking for traps or signs of the creatures that had attacked them the night before. The alien girl darted silently behind him, small and quick, ready to act if anything moved. They reached the side door and he pushed it open slowly. Peering into the alley beyond, the path was clear, but the shadows seemed thicker, moving in strange patterns. She squeezed his hand, small but firm, and whispered, "We survive, together, must hide." He nodded, feeling a warmth in his chest he had never felt before, a bond that went beyond words. Together, they stepped into the alley, careful not to make a sound. Moving toward the edge of the town as they ran, the alien girl's glowing device pulsed softly, lighting their way and warning them of obstacles. She hopped over fallen boxes and ducked under low wires. Moving with incredible agility, the human struggled to keep up, but he marveled at her speed and cleverness. They reached an old garage at the edge of the town, a place where he had stored some of his inventions. Inside, he revealed a small, strange ship hidden under a tarp, covered in dust but still intact. The alien girl's eyes widened, and she squeaked excitedly, "Ship? Yes, take me home." He nodded, realizing that this could be their chance to escape the hunters and find safety. Together they climbed into the ship, the alien girl helping him with small controls and switches. The engines hummed softly, responding to her touch, and the human felt a thrill of hope mixed with fear. As they prepared to leave, the alien girl looked at him with wide eyes, tail twitching nervously. "You help me. I trust you," she whispered, her small hand brushing his. The human smiled, heart swelling with emotion. "And I trust you. We face this together, no matter what." The ship lifted quietly, moving above the rooftops, leaving the town behind. Outside, he could see the shadows moving, watchers waiting for a chance to strike. But inside the ship there was a moment of peace, a fragile bond between human and alien girl, strengthened by fear, courage, and shared struggle. She pointed to the glowing device. "It, gut, protect." Together, he realized it was more than a tool. It was a link between them, a symbol of their trust and teamwork. The bond grew stronger with every passing minute, fear slowly turning into hope. The audience could feel the tension and emotion. Two unlikely companions, running from danger, trusting each other completely, and as the ship soared above the horizon, the human knew that no matter what waited ahead, they could survive. Together, somewhere in the distance, eyes watched the sky, aware that the tiny alien girl had escaped, but unaware that her human friend had become her greatest ally. The journey was far from over, but for now they were safe, connected, and ready to face whatever came next. The tiny ship glided silently above the forest, the human gripping the controls tightly. Heart racing, the alien girl sat beside him, her small hands resting on the glowing device. Eyes wide and alert, she glanced out the window, tail flicking nervously, ears twitching at every distant sound. They still follow, close. Must hide, she whispered, voice tense but calm. The human nodded, determination flashing in his eyes. Then we'll make a plan. Together. They had been running for hours, evading the creatures, using the alien device to sense danger and guide them. But now the shadows were closer than ever, dark shapes moving below the treetops, tracking them with precision. Suddenly, a loud crash shook the ship, and the human instinctively grabbed the controls, fighting to steady it. The alien girl leapt forward, small but fearless, pressing buttons and activating gadgets on her device. A bright pulse of light shot from it, blinding the creatures below and forcing them to retreat temporarily. The human's eyes widened. You're incredible. How do you do that? She squeaked, tail flicking proudly. I protect, survive, together. The human realized she was not just clever or agile. She had abilities beyond his understanding, powers that could turn the tide of danger. As the creatures regrouped and charged again, he felt a surge of courage inspired by her bravery. They were a team, human and alien, each relying on the other to survive, to fight, to win. The creatures burst through the treetops, claws reaching for the ship, eyes glowing with anger and hunger. The human twisted the controls, dodging trees, weaving between shadows. The alien girl squeaked, pressing a sequence on her device, and suddenly, a force field surrounded the ship, glowing faintly but strong. The creatures slammed against it, claws scratching uselessly, growls filling the air. The human felt a rush of awe and pride. This tiny being had saved them both, but the battle was not over. More shadows appeared, faster and stronger, surrounding the ship from all sides. The human realized he had to act, using his knowledge, skill, and courage to guide the ship while the alien girl's powers defended them. With a deep breath, he grabbed a small gadget from the dashboard, a homemade flare launcher he had been saving. He aimed carefully and fired, creating a blinding explosion that scattered the nearest attackers. The alien girl squeaked, her eyes shining, activating her device to amplify the effect, sending the remaining creatures into confusion. Together, human and alien fought as one, each move precise, each decision critical. The creatures finally retreated, defeated by the combined courage and ingenuity of the smallest alien and the human who had trusted her. The ship glided silently again, the forest calm beneath them. The glow from the alien device fading slowly, the human looked at the tiny girl beside him, heart pounding. We did it. We survived. She looked up, eyes sparkling, tail flicking happily. Yes, together survive. Protect, always. He smiled, realizing that she had changed him, made him braver, more creative, more human in ways he could not have imagined. And then she revealed something he had never expected. Holding up the device, which now projected a small hologram, it showed her home world, a beautiful place of floating forests, sparkling rivers and creatures like her. She pointed to a glowing figure in the hologram, whispering, "Family, waiting, safe, because you helped, human friend." The human's eyes widened, overwhelmed by emotion, pride, and awe. He realized that his courage, his compassion, and his willingness to trust this tiny, unusual alien had made a real difference. The audience could feel the HFY moment, the human using ingenuity, bravery, and heart to protect and save another being. The alien girl squeaked softly, smiling. A tiny gesture that said more than words could express, she whispered, "You, hero, not just human, friend, forever." The human laughed softly, wiping sweat and tears from his face. "And you, brave, clever, hero too." The ship soared into the sky, away from the danger, toward safety, toward adventure. Somewhere in the distance, new challenges awaited, but together, human and alien girl had proven that courage, cleverness, and trust could overcome any danger. The tiny creature that begged for shelter in a doghouse had become a powerful ally, a symbol of hope and bravery, and the human realized with a smile that this adventure had shown the true meaning of heroism, friendship, and humanity. Together, they would face whatever the universe sent their way, ready, fearless, and united.